fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right. All right, welcome back to Inmate Arbitration, the Monday edition. Now, Wednesday, I'm going to have the Giant Slayer, Mr. Tyler Vassar, on from Build a Fighting NALC. So y'all got a Sunday edition with the Wolf, Mr. Henry, Monday, and now Wednesday, and all for free. How's that? And so, yeah, look forward to hearing from Mr. Tyler Vassar. A big part of this TA movement to shoot that down, and so that'll be Wednesday. Enjoyed Mr. Henry last night. Always loved talking to him, the next president of the NALC in 2026, and so a lot of great comments about him. Always get a lot of good feedback about Mr. Henry. And I think that now more than ever we need Mr. Henry in there, because the thing that we need more than anything else right now is integrity. And I've said that for a while, that integrity to me at this point in time is what we need more than anything to bring integrity back to the office of president of the NALC. It has no integrity right now, and we're the laughing stock of every union in the Postal Service across the country, newspaper articles and videos clowning our president who has no integrity. And so we need that steadfast force in there right now, the person that can come in there and steady this ship into the future. And that's Mr. Henry. And that's one of the reasons I love him so much, is because of his integrity. And so, and plus what he's going to do when he gets in there, the things that we've talked about him doing as soon as he gets in there. So it was great it was great talking to him last night, because we have a complete shit show up there right now with y'all's president, Brian Renfroe. I don't know if y'all saw the pictures on social media where he's got the photo op of him in there negotiating with no papers, no nothing, with Tolino and DeJoy. And they're sitting back like two cats looking at a mouse. And here's our dumbass president in there negotiating for us after he's already come out and said he's gotten every penny he can get out of them. That's why you don't say shit like that. God bless. Look here, man. I've never been in national negotiations, and I know that. I know you don't come out of any meeting saying, I just did the best that I could. We've gotten everything we could get out of them. We couldn't squeeze another penny out of them. And then now y'all go vote on it. What sense does that make? You never do that. Why? Because it may get voted down. And now you're sitting in there with two people that are leaning back in their chairs knowing, motherfucker, we heard you tell your people that you've gotten every penny out of us. What do you want us to do now? And so he's a dumbass. Man, I'm telling you, he can't get out of there fast enough. I was hoping he would just go on and quit. He's not going to do that because of his pride. He's a narcissist. And he's got people probably still in there, singing his praises. His little dumb ass. But I know this. If this sorry, low-down, cheating son of a bitch, if he agrees to part of that tentative agreement behind our back, the non-financial package, I'm talking about the workplace issues, if he agrees to that, they need to run that motherfucker out of town immediately. Now, the executive council won't. You got too many cowardly son of a bitches on there that won't do anything. Some of these business agents that are still in this sorry, low-down line son of a bitch's ass, they're not going to do that. But we voted down the entire tentative agreement, and we trounced that son of a bitch. And so if this sorry, low-down, cheating, backstabbing, lying, sorry son of a bitch, if he agrees behind our back to a portion of that TA after we voted it down, brother, there's going to be hell to pay. He's already lost this next election. It's over. Everybody up there knows it. Everybody up there saying it. He's done. He's lost. You don't get your shit kicked in like that and come back from it. Even if if the arbitration goes well, he's not going to make it because he ain't got nothing to do with that. So I pray that he doesn't do that behind our backs. I pray that because it was so resoundingly defeated. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. That's why we need James Henry in there now more than ever. God, we need somebody in there with integrity, with morals, that is an adult, that won't get clowned over like this dude we have in there right now. And so I may talk a little bit more about that. Yeah, we're going to go all night tonight, right? I got a lot of shit to talk about. We just freewheeling. I got notes everywhere. We just, whatever I want to talk about, we're just going to talk. How's that sound? Right? Mallory is an all-star for me. And I know that y'all know I talk about her all the time. She's done so much for the website. If you get on there, you'll see that she's completely revamped it. It looks amazing, and she is nonstop. And I can't thank her enough. I wish I had a lot of money because I'd be giving her a lot for what she does, not for me, but for y'all, because y'all are the ones who look at the website. I don't. And so I can't thank her enough. There's some others I need to thank, because if you go on to the episodes on from8arbitration.com, they've described every one of them in the description section. Every one of them, they're going to tell you exactly what I talked about. Can you imagine 200-something episodes going and listening to them and saying this is what he was talking about because I was too lazy to do that? But that's what they've done. That's what they've done for y'all, so that y'all can go back and say, I know I remember Corey talking about something. What episode was that? They've got the descriptions all on every one of the episodes. So they are truly all-stars. But it was Mallory, Cole Billups, Dane Tober, and Lang on Discord, right? And there are some others that volunteered, but the history doesn't show up on anything. But those individuals, I cannot thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. And Discord's some special people. They're special people to me, and they're constantly on there talking, solving shit, making fun of each other, dogging me, and so I love them. I love Discord. Reddit's the same. Reddit's the same way. Now look, there's people that your aliases on both of them, and so I know there are business agents that send their people in there. I know that for a fact because I find out later. And some business agents, I know one business agent from kind of the Southwest has gotten on there and entered an alias, and that's fine. That's fine. Hey, I love going back and forth. We have a good time. Even if they hate me, I don't care. Look, we're winning in 2026. I'm not sweating that. I don't sweat what anybody says about me. I don't care. I'm going to be the next director of city delivery for the NALC. The CLC ticket is going to win. So I don't care what people say, how they feel about me. I really don't give a shit. But get on Reddit and Discord. Have a good time with those individuals on there. A lot of great education going on there, okay? And so do that. Give a special shout out to my brother, Richie Ray. And y'all know how I feel about that guy. I've talked about him before. I love that guy like a brother. I've always said that if you look up in the dictionary, the Union, you'll have Richie Ray's picture in there. I believe that. If you talk to him, you will believe that. But he is running for business agent of Region 15 on the CLC ticket. I cannot tell you how lucky those individuals are in Region 15 to have somebody like Richie Ray going to be your next business agent. Somebody who loves and has a passion for the city letter carrier like I do. And that's saying something, because I told you, I have a deep, passionate love affair for the city letter carrier. That's all I care about. I like my people in the union now. I need my union, the agent. I need them. My passion, my love is for the city letter carrier, right? And so as part of the union, I'm in that because of the city letter carrier. I'm not in that because I want to be in the union a hobnobber, an ass kisser, a yes man, like most of them that are in there now. And so Richie Ray is going to be an absolutely fantastic business agent for Region 15. He will be a fucking beast. And so I want to give him a little shout out. That's official. It's on the website, so I'm not breaking anything to you. But Region 15 is lucky as hell to have Richie Ray, man. He is a fantastic cat. Had a trip. I'm telling you, I'm going back a ways because I'm just talking today, all right? I'm just in here, we're yapping. I'm going to cover a bunch of shit, so I'm just going to start getting these notes and just marking shit off of them. But a couple of weeks ago, well, this last week, hell, that's the longest week ever because I had the flu. But last Friday, traveled down to Texas. I drove down there, and I'm still sick. So y'all can kind of tell. I'm over it, but you can tell I'm nasally. But anyway, so I drove down, my wife and I drove down to branch 1203, and they had a retirement dinner. And they have a fantastic new president, Crystal Weathers, and she is an amazing young lady. And I was thinking that while I was sitting in that, they had it at a clubhouse, a retirement dinner. And I'm looking around, I'm thinking, what a fantastic job, fantastic tribute to our retirees. I mean, they really did a first-class job. And they should be extremely proud of themselves. And I know they are. They're a very proud group, and talked to a lot of them. One of my highlights, and y'all know how I feel about Formula A, was I was talking to two older gentlemen. One of them been in here as long as I have, 32 years, and has just decided to become a shop steward. And I thought that was awesome to say, hey, man, look here, I'm going to pick up this flag. And we talk about that all the time. But everybody was talking about their Formula A rep. You've got to meet our Formula A rep. You've got to meet her. She is a beast. She is this and that. She is kicking the shit out of management. So I'm like, I can't wait to meet her. Because y'all know how I feel about the Formula A. It's the most important step. You know, they're the ultimate badass is the formal step A. And so I got to meet her. Lovely young lady. We talked a little bit, and I talked, and so when I got up and I was talking to everybody, I made sure to mention her and how proud I am of her. Not that that means anything, but how proud I am of her, how important she is to everybody in that room. Talked to the shop steward as well. But as the shop steward, as the Formula A, I told a story about when I was in jail. And it was for this young lady and the shop stewards as well. And it kind of put into perspective who we are and what we do as the shop steward, as the agent, right? But I was the lead officer on the third floor at the Davidson County Jail. I worked for Davidson County Sheriff's Office, was a correctional officer. And so the third floor was the most dangerous floor. It had classification cells, and that means that you could be anybody that come up in there. You know, fifth floor was for the most hardened criminals. But third floor, you had those that were mentally unstable. Those were an A cell. In B cell, you had mixed. It could be any charge in B cell. So you had some trouble there. And C and D cells were classification cells as well. And so it was regarded as the most violent floor. And so I was the lead officer on that floor. And in the morning, I'm talking about like 3 a.m, we'd have to go around and open up cells for those that needed to go down to see the nurse. And that was your sick call. And so they would send up a list every morning. These are the inmates that need to go to the nurse, to the clinic, and they'd get the cell numbers and the name, right? Now, we had rock men. They're called rock men. Those are inmates that I would get out when I got there at night. So we'd count all the inmates. The very first thing we'd do is we'd count every inmate to make sure nobody had escaped. And then after that, I let the rock men out, those inmates that worked for me. They would come out and they would stay out all night. And, they loved doing that. And they would clean the floors. That's when we could wax the floors, strip the floors. They would feed breakfast for me in the morning. Anything needed to be done at night when the inmates were asleep, they would do it. Okay. And so people loved that job. Well, I had some very good ones, right? So I'm opening up these cells and I'm going in there and I would just yell out the name of the inmate. And so this one night I opened it up, and it was one morning, it's 3. So I opened up the cell door and I holler in there, Jim Jones, let's go. It's time to go to the clinic. And so I'd go to the next cell. And so all the inmates would come out. They would step out in the hallway and then I'd put them into the Sally Port. That's kind of the holding area until we could get them on the elevator and take them down. Well, this Jim Jones had not come out. And so I go in there and yell his name out again. Jim Jones, you need to come out. Let's go. Nothing. So I go back. Everything is still, right? So I go back, bang on the side of the door. Now his door is open and it slides open. So I bang on it. I said, Jim Jones, let's go now. I said, you're making us late. Well, they're in bunk beds. They're on the left side of the cell. And so you have the person on the top has a blanket and always usually hangs down about halfway, so you can't really see who's on the bottom. So I see these 2 feet. They finally, sit up, and the inmate's finally sitting up, and his feet are on the ground. And I was like, "Come on, Jim Jones, let's go." And I hear a very meek voice, and it says, "Corey?" Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting that because nobody called me Corey up there. It was Officer Walton. So I'm looking down in there and damn, it was a guy that was the father of one of my best friends growing up at church. And I've known this guy my entire life. He went to church religiously. And so I looked down there and I was like, Mr. Jones? Well, I know the inmates were shitting because I would never give anybody that respect to call him Mr. Anybody. So I was like, Mr. Jones? I was like, what are you doing here? And so what had happened was he was a very influential attorney and was caught embezzling money from his firm. And so he was in transit. He was going from Memphis to Brushy Mountain up near Knoxville. That was a very maximum security prison. But so he was there for a couple of days in Nashville while they were waiting to take him and some others up northeast. And so he got up and came out and I was like, why are you here? And he told me what was going on. And I remember just feeling like hell, because I'm like, damn, this is my buddy's dad. I've gone to church with him my whole life. And so they'd come back up. He had dialysis. I remember that. He had dialysis. And so they had come back up from the clinic and they would eat first because they were all on special diets. And so in the chow hall, you would go into the chow hall, you'd walk up to this little door, this little slot, and the inmates on the other side, my rock men, would hand you out a tray. Well, if you're on a special diet, they came in styrofoam trays. And so I'm back in the back watching them feed, and I see this hand come through there, and it gets his little iron, his little styrofoam tray, and then the coffee is in like a little hard plastic cup. And see this hand come in there and get this coffee, and then it comes back in to get another one. And so the rock man just slams this little iron door down on him, like, clow, because he can't get any. And you see that hand snatch back out of there real quick. I said, hey, who was that right there? And so the rock man, he opens that iron door back up, and he's like, hey, man, who are you? He's like, Jim Jones. And he looks at me, he said, Jim Jones. I was like, give dude whatever he wants, man. And so he's like, hey, sir, come back. And he gave him another coffee, which was nothing. But so I was leaving that morning and I told Mr. Jones, I was like, hey, I'll be back tonight. I said, I'll just leave your cell open, okay, all night. You can come out, walk around, do whatever you want to do. And I said, I'm not going to shut that cell on you all day. Because it's, that door shuts on you. That's real. And so I said, when I come on tonight, I'll open yours up, man. You can walk around, do whatever you want to do, come out, read, watch TV. He's like, I don't have a book. I said, come on in here with me, man. I said, find you a book. And I had a bunch of books that we'd confiscate. And so he got him a couple of books that he thought he'd like reading. But there were two rock men that worked with me, and they were stone cold killers. And one of them's name was John Smith. And the reason I remember that name is because it was so bland. John Smith. That's you don't see that name much, something that bland. But John Smith was one of them, and there was another guy, I can't remember, but he was kind of shorter, real stocky, and long hair. And these motherfuckers could clean house. I mean, I had seen them. They got in fights all the time with inmates trying to do shit, while they was out on chow. And so they were stone cold killers, man. These motherfuckers were bad. And so before I left that first day, I called them over and I said, hey, do y'all see that guy right there? And they said, yeah. I was like, you watch him. You watch him and protect him. You hear me? Yes, sir. I said, I don't want to hear anything happen to that guy while I'm gone. And so what we had, inmates had debit cards, and they had these machines that they could stick their debit card in, and it would automatically put $20 if you had any money. It just automatically put $20. You couldn't push in a number. You just put it in, it'd put $20 out, pop it back out. If you had $5, it'd put $5, but the most you could get is $20. And so your family members could come in there and put money on your account, but the most you could get is $20. Well, the problem is that anybody could get a hold of that card, if you know what I mean. And they would abuse that, okay? And so I'd have inmates all the time coming up to me and say, man, somebody stole my card, wiped my account out. And so I told these two guys, I said, watch that guy. Watch him. And don't let anything happen to him. Y'all hear me? Yes, sir. I said, all right. And so Mr. Jones stayed there a couple of nights. I remember I came in. It was probably the third night I came in, and he was gone. And I never told him what I did. I don't think the Rockman ever told him what they did, but they watched him. I'd come in. I'd say, how was it? Well, he had to run a couple of people off, but, they left him alone for the most part. And so, I could never say anything to the inmates because they'd think that Mr. Jones was a snitch. And so I had to do that kind of behind his back, And as a couple of months went by and I heard that he had passed away, he had gone blind, he had diabetes, and he had major kidney problems, and he was on dialysis. And so he'd gone blind, and then finally, he had just passed away. And I hated to hear that. And I remember I was at church, and his son came up to me. And he's like, hey, man, he's like, I just want to let you know that, I know what you did for my dad. And, that was a real somber time because that's tough. You're looking at my man. They've always had money. He was a very high level attorney, just fucked up, And so I just told him, hey, man, that ain't nothing, it's nothing I want to do for anybody. But those rock men that took care of him, that watched him, that's us. That's who we are. We take care of those that potentially could be bullied, intimidated, stolen from, cheated on, taken advantage of by others like management. But that's who we are those rock men, those stone cold killers is exactly who we are. And any position that you have in this union, you need to act like those two rock men. Stone cold fucking killers. As a shop steward, that's who you need to be. As a Formal A, that's who you need to be. Any position we have needs to be that stone cold killer. Unfortunately, we have a president right now that's a bitch. And he does not have that in him. And we are suffering greatly because of that. We have management that takes advantage of us daily. They take advantage of us daily by falsifying clock rings, falsifying training, coming out with these 16/7s, abusing that, these hour office times, these load times that they've made into standards instead of parameters, the abuse of our sick leave, they change it to AWOL, make us fight for that, fucking up our leave, putting in for annual, they'll give us sick, putting in for sick, they'll give us annual just to fuck with us, put in leave without pay, bully us, intimidate us, do everything humanly possible to us, because to them there is no consequence for doing that. We have a president right now who does not understand the concept of consequence. What is consequence? Those two rock men were consequences. Those two rock men were the consequences of somebody's abuse. If you attempted to abuse Mr. Jones, you would face the consequences of that. And those were the two rock men. Those would be your consequence for fucking with that man. We as a union have to be the consequence of management's abuse. And we are not. We are led by two incompetent fools. And so until the day of us becoming a consequence from the top to the bottom, until that, this is what we will have. We will have a president undermining a vote, an overwhelming vote on a TA, because he doesn't understand consequence. He has an executive council that will keep him from consequence because they will protect him and kiss his scrawny ass because they refuse to be consequence. The day is coming for consequence. That's who we are, the CLC. We're consequence. We're the consequence of your actions. To the executive council now. The CLC is the consequence of your actions. We have got to get back to being the consequence of management's actions against us. There has to be that. And until there is, we will continue to have these stupid fools in headquarters sending down things like 16/7s, fucking with us, right? Sending down things like metrics on stationary events. They never met a consequence for that. Sending down things like an hour office time, pulling that out of their funky ass because they knew that there would be no consequence for that. Falsifying our HIP training because they knew there would be no consequence for that. And until we understand that consequence is hell. It's a hellraiser, right? That's who we are. That's who we have to be. We have to be those rock men. There has to be consequence for your actions. That should be the agent, right? The agent should be the consequence of management's actions, but we're not. We're not. Now, there are some areas that flat get it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we have some areas that are killing it right now. But we've got to get back to being the consequence that management should expect when they fuck with us on these things here. And I'll talk a little bit about consequence here in a bit, but those rock men were the consequence. If you fucked with Mr. Jones, you've met the consequence. You faced the consequence. And what was it? 2 stone cold killers ready to fuck your shit up. And so that's the story that I told down there to those fantastic people. But we've got to be the consequence of management's ill doing. You know, I see Brian, he's a child meeting with men in this picture. And what I think about when I think about this vote, how overwhelming it was. I told you how proud I was of the city letter carrier for standing up. Nobody knew what the vote was going to be. You know, you just hope first off that it's honest, that there's no shenanigans, because Unfortunately, when you have a president that is as untruthful as Brian is, you don't trust anybody. You don't trust him. You damn sure don't trust him. You don't trust anybody, really, because those people that surround him, to me, are untruthful. Anybody that he appoints to do anything is untruthful, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault because they're probably not untruthful. It's them being associated with him gives them that appearance of being untruthful because he is so untruthful. Nobody trusts this clown. Nobody. I don't know of anybody that trusts him. I know they're running for the hills up there in National because they know this motherfucker's going to get beat. But the problem is you have a guy that's sitting in there at the table with two other people, and I talked about this just a second ago, but has come out and he has said that I can't do any better than I did. This is as good as I could do. I can't get another penny out of him, and it's not looking good if we go to arbitration. Now, he said that. That's rookie bullshit, like I say. But he said that, and then he's going to go sit back at the table with those very same people. That's the reason you don't say shit. That's the reason you don't say shit. But those three in that room, the three in that room have stolen from us. The three sitting in that room, Brian, Tolino, and DeJoy, they have stolen from us, right? Because Brian came out and he said this: it's going to be a 9% increase and nothing less. We will accept nothing less than 9%. That's what he said. That's what your president said. So I have to take him at his word that he's going to settle for nothing less than 9%, right? That's what he said. And then we got 3.9%. Somebody stole from us. Somebody stole from us. Because I was due 9%. My president said that. He said, we're not going to settle for anything less, and they did. And so somebody stole from the city letter carrier. He said that it was going to be an all-career workforce or a non-starter. And then he went into, well, if we do have a contingent of CCAs, somebody stole from us the opportunity to have an all-career workforce. Somebody stole from us. And then he told the CCAs that you're going to have a substantial increase, substantial starting wage if we keep the CCA craft and you got $1. Somebody stole from the CCAs. They stole from us. They're talking about a reduction in office time. We voted that down in this TA, and he's talking about it going ahead and doing it anyway. That's what he said he's going to do. Went from 33 minutes to 20. Somebody stole from us because we voted against all of this. So somebody is stealing from us because we voted against it. You're going to say that you're going to do it anyway. These caps on the 12 and 60, we voted that down, but they're going to talk about doing it anyway. Somebody is stealing from the city letter carrier, right? The problem with Renfroe and Tolino and DeJoy, the problem that they're having is that they've run into is the city letter carrier. The problem that they run into is the city letter carrier, right? They did not expect that. They did not expect us. They did not see us coming. And I've been trying to tell them forever that the city letter carrier is standing up. They're rising up, and they're not going to take this shit any longer. I've been trying to say it week after week after week after week, that there is a ground roots uprising going on, and it's coming. It's coming. I've been trying to tell them it's coming. They didn't want to pay attention. They never saw us coming, but I did. They have no idea what's coming, but I do. They tried to take advantage of us and got the shit stomped out of them. There are thieves in the house, right? There's one of the best movies I've seen to deal with this is called The Collector. Have you ever seen that movie, The Collector? A fantastic movie. Scary as hell. If you've not seen it, go watch it. But what happens is there's this thief that breaks into this house that they were working on, and he's looking around for shit that he's going to steal. But what he doesn't know is that there's already somebody in the house with him. A killer. There's a killer in the house that has the family. This thief doesn't know it, so he spends the rest of the movie trying to escape this killer. And so when I think of that, I think back to these thieves. These thieves that stole from us, that continue to try to steal from us the things that we voted down. The problem that the thieves have is that they broke into a house full of killers, the city letter carrier. And that's exactly what's happened. Thieves have tried to break into our house, a house full of killers. And you see what happened? They got their fucking hands broke to the tune of about 70-something%. The city letter carrier said, enough is enough with this bullshit. The disrespect is going to end. We're going to stand up today and again in 26 when it's time to vote all these motherfuckers out of there. But thieves have tried to break into a house full of killers. And you saw the result of that to the tune of about 70%. They never saw us coming. And that's usually how it happens. They never saw us fucking coming. And it's a beautiful fucking thing. Now you got this sorry lying son of a bitch in this meeting, selling us the fuck out, talking to USA Today. Finally, he's going to talk to somebody. Nobody ever saw him in any kind of negotiations before, but now all of a sudden here's their picture and they're negotiating. He's negotiating on our behalf. I wouldn't trust that motherfucker to negotiate a ham sandwich. But here we are, stuck with this dumb fuck because the committee and executive council in Boston just had to have this dumb fucker in there representing us. Just had to have this dumbass in there. And so here we are. Here we are. But we'll vote this dumb son of a bitch out in 26. We'll do that. And we'll get the CLC in there and we'll turn this motherfucker around. A lot of people on social media saying that, there's so much division in the union right now. And there's so much division on social media and all this kind of shit. And there's going to be division. There's going to be division. There will be division next year, and there will be division the next and the next, and there will be division. Do you know why there will be division? Because you have those that are in the camp of Renfroe that love the status quo. Some rely on it. Their livelihoods depend on it. So they will obviously be in Camp Renfroe. And then you'll have those that suck the business agent's ass, that probably work in the office periodically, and they love the business agent that kisses Renfroe's ass. And so they will be anti anybody that goes against the establishment. They will not be on our side. Then you'll have those that just want to come to work and go home. They don't care about a tentative agreement, didn't vote, won't vote in the next presidential election, and they don't care. They don't give a damn about nothing. They just want to come in, work, and go home, which is completely fine. That's their right. And then you have those that say, I'm not going to take this bullshit any longer with our sorry-ass union failing to represent us and a cowardly-ass lying son of a bitch president who's done nothing but harm us since he's been in office. He has an executive vice president who's just as shitty as he is, and they're doing things that are harming us. And we're not going to take that shit any longer, so we're getting together a ticket. And we're going to go against these motherfuckers and vote them out. And those people that are getting behind that movement obviously are not going to be in the same camp as the Renfroe camp. And so what happens is there will be some division and there will be some chatter back and forth against those two, right? You have the CLC and you have the Renfroe camp. Those are the two parties that are going against each other. And so, yes, there will be division, and it's fine. It's going to work itself out. Everything will be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I promise you that. You don't have to worry about a thing. Sometimes some bad things will be said out of the heat of the moment. And you know what? Just keep on scrolling. Just keep on scrolling. Because there are those that will sacrifice all for the Renfroe camp, the status quo, the establishment. And there are those that say, kiss my ass. Hey, kiss all this ass. We're not going to take that anymore. We want our agent to actually do something for a change and fight for us. And so there you have that. And so, yeah, there will be some division. Everything will not be kumbaya like people want. Okay? I would love for everybody to be on the same page, but we're not going to be. If you're on the page of we need to keep Renfroe, I'm not going to be on the page as you. We're not going to be on the same page. He's got to fucking go. He's gone. I mean, the motherfucker's out. And so there's nothing he can do to stop what's coming. It's just not. The CLC's taken over this motherfucker in 26, and there's not shit he can do except soil his pants. And that's it. And so let's get into some stuff. Let's get into some stuff. I got some shout outs I'm going to do. I've been promising I was going to do some shout outs. So let's do those. Now, remember, I'm blind as a bat. Okay? I can't see shit. And so I'm going to try to read these. Please forgive me if I don't get it right. But it's very small print. I've got my glasses on, but I'm blind as hell. It says, hey, Corey, just wanted to get a shout out in for my local union wolves. These two fellas don't let management do shit without them noticing. Despite all the bullshit and exhausting as it may be, they never stop fighting the fight. They've done so much that management around the region is aware of them, despite them just being local shop stewards. So please let them know, and all of our fellow brothers and sisters know, that Nick and Steven of Branch 849 in Fort Collins, Colorado, are the badasses this union needs and loves, and the work they do is extremely appreciated. That's all. Appreciate you too, brother. Hey, absolutely. Absolutely. Two wolves, I'll definitely give you a shout out because you know how I feel about that shit. We were just talking about consequence, right? And so that's the consequence of it. You have to deal with two fucking wolves that look like they're kicking the shit out of people. So here's another one. Love listening to the podcast. I'd like to give a shout out to Branch 491 out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to President Brian Dewar. Now, forgive me about these names, you know how I am. Brian Dewar and Stuart Mark DeBelts. So there you have it. Love listening to the podcast. I'd like to give a shout out to Branch 491 out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to President Brian Dewar and Stuart Mark DeBelts. And so there's your shout out, my brother, and letting them know that you're sending them some love. Here's another one. Shout out, please, my brother, to my fellow brother, Doug Rice. Thanks for stepping up to become shop steward, even though you're always at driver training. Still get a lot of grievance settled and have our back. And on a side note, Mr. Walton, thank you for being a voice of a lot of voiceless carriers. Absolutely, my man, absolutely. I support Mr. Bill Kriebel for MBA candidate Region 12 as well. Thank you, sir, for all the good words. Hey, I support Bill Kriebel as well. That's a savage coming into that region, Bill Kriebel. And once y'all get to hear more of him and you call him and you talk to him, you'll understand that y'all got finally got a fucking savage coming up in your region, Region 12, right? And that's exactly what Bill Kriebel is. That dude's a fucking beast. And so, very exciting for that. All right, I want to talk a little bit about some 16-7 stuff. I've got some things I'm going to share with you. We're going to deal with some things. But we have a shop steward that is absolutely killing it on these things here, man. And what he's done is he's got management in a conundrum on these 16-7s. And he's put in a request to talk to everybody And that's what I've been saying. He's got a request in to talk to everybody. And so they're telling him that they're refusing to speak to him. We're just refusing to speak. He's got emails saying, hey, I need to speak with this person that was out there riding around and this person that was riding around. Well, they're refusing to speak to you. And he keeps going up the line. Okay, I need to speak to this person, MCSO. I need to speak to them. Well, they're not going to speak to you either. And so he is cleaning their fucking clocks, man. And it's absolutely hysterical because he's having a time of his life with this shit when he sends me these emails where he is requesting to speak to people. And then he says, he told him, he's like, well, if they're refusing to speak, I'm filing a 17 and 31, but I do need a statement from them because I want that in the file so when we call them to testify. And so when you fuck with us like they're doing, you have to be that consequence. And he is being a consequence for management's actions on these 16-7, right? And so as the agent, you have to be the consequence. And there always has to be consequences for your actions, especially when you're fucking with us. And this cat is the ultimate consequence. And so he's kicking the shit out of him. But I've got a couple of things for you. When you request to interview management, right, and they say no, that's obviously a violation of 17 and 31. But also, you'll get in your file. Now, write these numbers down for me. When you get into your file, you want to put in that file, obviously, the 1731 language. And then you'll want to put in M00988. M00988, right? And it says, after reviewing this matter, we mutually agree that no national interpretive issue is fairly presented in this case. The subject matter of interviews with supervisors has been previously settled. In this national level case, it is anticipated that supervisors will respond to reasonable and germane questions during the investigation of a grievance. Now, management may say, well, they're not supervisors. This is management, okay? And so this is going to go in the file. We have the right to investigate these individuals for this grievance, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. So M00988, also M0012. M0012, Article 17, Section 3 of the National Agreement states that interviews with aggrieved employees, supervisors, and witnesses shall not be unreasonably denied. It is anticipated that supervisors will respond to reasonable and germane questions during the investigation of a grievance. So we're investigating a grievance on why you're out there driving around looking at us. And we have some questions about that, okay? Because we're going to say that there's probably some procedural due process violations, especially for getting into Article 19 when we incorporate the M39 Section 134, where you've been tree topping, because you cannot tree top me, right? That's one thing you cannot do. Now, headquarters can send out whatever in the fucking dumb shit they want to send out, but it cannot violate any of our handbooks or manuals, and that's what it's doing because you're tree topping us. We're going to get those 4584s. I'm going to get the time off of that and see when you began to watch me and then when you stopped me, okay? Because if you're tree topping, that's going to be part of our grievance, right? We're going to question the carrier. Did they ever alert you that you're being followed? No. Somebody told me the other day that management said, well, we didn't have to because they saw our car. I don't know what your car is. I don't know who you are, what your car is. I don't give a shit. You have to tell me that you're following me. That's a 4584, right? Now, these people didn't get it in this one installation where this cat's firing their asses up. But they may come out and give you a relevancy letter. We don't see where it's relevant to your case, to your grievance, to interview these managers. So we just don't feel it's relevant. On episode 74, if you go back to episode 74, I talk about relevancy letters. All right? And so you'll want to go back and get all that stuff off of there. I did a brief for an arbitration. It's in there. You can take it, copy and paste everything off of it. Just make sure that you take my name and place off of it because that ain't going to help you. But there's a brief I did in there on relevancy letters. It's very good. You can take that, copy and paste it like I said. There's contractual language that will help you. The Mittenthal decision's in there on relevancy. And so you'll need all those things if they start giving you relevancy letters when you start to question managers or request to interview managers, okay? Also in your file, you want that on episode 203. If you go back to that, make sure you copy both of those things off. It's the pod employee image, and that's I'll read that in just a second, but you'll want that in the file as well. And then the safety employment PowerPoint, engagement PowerPoint, that's where the 3 individuals from headquarters have put this PowerPoint together. I would put in a request to interview each one of those individuals that made that PowerPoint from headquarters. I want to talk to all of them, because here's the guy sent me this, and I'll read it to you. I'll take the names out. But here's what you're going to run into from these dumb shits. It says the DSS on 1/22/25, 10:35 a.m. observation of a carrier not wearing a seatbelt. The DSS observed the carrier departing from 6620 this street and followed them to their next stop. Now that's tree topping. The DSS noticed that the carrier was not wearing a seatbelt turning left on this street. Upon arrival at the local CVS at this street, after parking next to the carrier, the DSS confirmed the seatbelt was still not in use. The DSS then approached the carrier, introduced themselves, and requested the keys to the Metris vehicle. Now remember that, okay? All of these things here they're writing down because they've been told to do so by headquarters. This is your game plan. When you stop them, get their keys, right? So anything that they write down like that, remember that. We're going to highlight that, okay? The DSS then approached the carrier, introduced themselves, and requested the keys to the Metris vehicle. DSS asked the carrier if the seatbelt was not on, and the carrier stated that they did not have the seatbelt on. Now, you're being investigated. I wouldn't answer any questions. I'm going to ask for my shop steward to be present. You've already taken my keys. I'm not answering any questions. I don't have to answer any questions. Was your seatbelt on? I need my shop steward. Okay, so make sure that you're telling your carriers, instructing your carriers, anytime you're stopped out on the street, tell them you're going to need your shop steward because you're being interviewed. Why? Because now this is official document that they've written this up on, that you've answered a question. They're going to use that against you now, and you had no union representation at the site. Once in possession of the keys, they're telling you again that they've got these keys in hand, right? The DSS gathered the carrier's information and made 3 phone calls to local management. Remember all these things. Once in possession of the keys, the DSS gathered the carrier's information and made 3 phone calls to local management. Now, how long did that take? How long did 3 phone calls take? I don't know. The supervisor responded to the call and arrived at the scene 11:28 a.m. So we've got an observation of a carrier not wearing a seatbelt at 10:35 a.m. and the supervisor arriving on the scene at 11:28 a.m. and my man is still not off the clock on emergency placement. The carrier was subsequently transported. Isn't this so stupid? Transported, like I'm an inmate. The carrier was subsequently transported to the local office where they were placed on emergency placement. Now, how much time transpired from the time you saw me, where there's some kind of emergency, till I was taken back to the office and put off the clock? Because you've got my keys. You've got my keys. I cannot go anywhere. You've got my keys. I'm still on the clock. You call 3 people. I'm still on the clock. A supervisor drives all the way out there. I'm still on the clock. I drive all the way back. I'm still on the clock. And then you put me off the clock. When Mittenthal talks about an immediate loss of time, when he says that, he does not mean that you sit there and wait for an hour and a half before you do that. It's an immediate loss of time. And so remember those things when we're arguing these, okay? Because they have in the thing on episode 203, the safety engagement PowerPoint, They have made it to where it's not immediate because you have to do all these things before I'm put off the clock. The DSS, while at the office, the DSS was approached by the union president who questioned the DSS regarding the situation. Now, who is it that saw me? The DSS, right? The supervisor didn't see me. So the DSS is there. The local union presidents questioned the DSS. The DSS explained that this was a matter of local management's discretion. There's your lie, right? It's local management's discretion. I just took the keys from them. I just called them, and they just came out here. They're following the blueprint of what's on episode 203, that safety engagement PowerPoint. Make sure you get that, copy that, and put that in the file, right? Because they're doing exactly as they're told to do by headquarters. They're just too damn dishonest to say, this is something we've been told to do. This dumb fucker said that this is local management's discretion. That's a lie. It's not. As tensions escalated, the MCSO intervened, promptly ending the conversation. So you got all these people in there against this one guy who didn't have a seatbelt on. So you have two people driving around, making 3 phone calls, somebody coming out there, taking me back, putting me off the clock, the MCSO getting involved. They're going to have somebody go out there and deliver the rest of my route because I didn't have a seatbelt on, which is not an emergency situation. But when they say that it's management's discretion, you remember that I had that. I'll just read it for you. And this is on episode 203 as well. And this is that pod employee image. And this is what it says. In the event of a pod employee observes any of the following: unattended running vehicle, not wearing a seatbelt, distracted driving, fingering mail, headphones, earbuds, utilizing cell phone. 1, pod will immediately stop employee, identify themselves. That happened. Ask employee to shut off vehicle, remove the key from ignition, and wait for further instructions. They took the key. POD will contact local office EAS and request immediate support. That happened, right? They made 3 phone calls. The supervisor came out. Once EAS arrives, POD will provide all supporting notes, photos, and statements to EAS. POD will remain on site, oversee emergency placement procedure, and offer support where needed. Notify verbally that they are being emergency placed by EAS and driven back to the office. Emergency placement letter obtained by local labor relations. Email drafted outlining high-level overview with all supporting documentation to team lead. Team lead will review an escalation. So make sure you put that in the file, and it'll show that this dumb fucker's lying. But then you'll also have that other thing, that safety engagement PowerPoint, that you'll put that in there because every individual that is in that, all those high-ranking officials from headquarters say that you will put them off the clock. You will call local management. You will take their keys. You will wait and make sure that local management puts them off the clock. All these things are mandates. So when they say that it's local management's discretion, they're full of shit. And we have documentation to prove that, right? And so make sure you're doing all those things. You're going to put in that information. You're going to request to interview every single person that you can. Anybody you can think of, the MCSO, the other individuals that saw him, the supervisor, right? You're going to ask them all these questions. And I've got some for you. Because what we want to do is get them on the record line. And so if I'm questioning the individuals that were driving around, we know why they're out there, right? We know why they're out there watching. Because they've been told to by headquarters, right? And so I'm going to ask them why they're out there. Why are you out there? And they're going to come up with some malarkey, right? Under whose direction? Under whose direction were you out there? Why did you stop this carrier? Why would they not be allowed to continue delivering? Because what we want them to say is, there was an emergency situation, then why didn't you put them off the clock? There's nothing says that you can't. Why didn't you put them off the clock? What we want them to say is there's an emergency situation. Why are you out there? Under whose direction? Why did you stop this carrier? Why would you not let the carrier continue to deliver? What was the emergency? There has to be an emergency situation. What was the emergency? They're going to have to answer that because they called the supervisor. Why did you call local management? Why did you take the keys? Why did you not give the keys back? Did you wait for local management to come out? Because all these things are the blueprint, right? You got to wait for them. Did you wait for local management to come out? Yes. What happened when they came out? You ever been at this zip code before? Have you ever driven these streets before? How did you find this carrier? When the supervisor, and I've questioned the supervisor, how long did it take you to get out there? When did you get the phone call? What did they tell you on the phone call? What emergency did you see? Why would you put them off the clock? If you didn't see the emergency, why is it you put them off the clock if you didn't see the emergency? So when were they seen? When were you called? What did you do? When were they put off the clock? Why were they not immediately put off the clock? All these things you're going to tie in together, right? Why did they call you and tell you to come out? Well, because there's a carrier without their seatbelt on. Why did you go out there? Because they told me to. So just things like that. Make up your own questions, right? Anything to trap them is what I'm going to do. I want them to be in arbitration. And I told you when we go after management, and this cat did the perfect thing. I need a statement from you. Well, they're not going to be interviewed. I need a statement from them because they're going to go in arbitration and answer for what they've done. That's the inconvenience of it all. When I talk about inconveniencing management, when we go after management, when I take over as director of city delivery, we're going after management. That's a done deal. It's as done as it can be done. That's a done deal. We're going after management. And so in that, we're going to make sure that everybody is involved with these grievances. Any person in management that even has an inkling of information for me, I want them in the case file because I want them in arbitration. I want them talking to an arbitrator. I want them being cross-examined and humiliated in that hearing, right? We have some savages as advocates, and I want them to have the opportunity to question high-level individuals in there and humiliate those son of a bitches and inconvenience the shit out of them. And we'll see if we can't be in the consequence that we've been talking about today, right? We're consequences to these motherfuckers. One last thing, then I'm going to go. And then, like I said, I have Tyler on Wednesday, the Giant Slayer, and he's going to be on here talking the BFN, Bill to Fighting NALC, and then also the Vote No. And I love having him on here. We have a good time, man. That kid is something else. He's special. But next Sunday, I'm going to get back into 6-day count. A lot of shit coming up on 6-day counts. A lot of 6-day counts going on. I got to finish this book that I've not got into for about 6 weeks because of all this shit that's come up. But I'm going to get back into that Sunday, the 6-day count, okay? But somebody sent me something. And I talk all the time about how we were under attack. Everybody knows it. We're under attack because we have incompetent leadership, most of all. Nobody's afraid of us anymore. There is no consequence. Like I've been saying, we don't have any consequence for fucking with us because our president is as incompetent an individual as I've ever encountered in my lifetime. I wouldn't even have him as a rock man working at the jail with me. He's that damn incompetent. And so I wouldn't put that son of a bitch over a hot dog stand. I just wouldn't. He's incompetent and distrustful. I mean, he's untruthful. You can't trust the son of a bitch as far as you can throw him. And so, but the consequence of that is management has got us in the crosshairs. They are ravaging us right now, kicking the shit out of us. I've said this numerous times. The things that they do to us as far as the 16-7s is a perfect example. You have 3 individuals making ain't no telling how much money, coming up with something to come out here and fuck with us. trying to put us off the clock for not wearing a seatbelt, something that you could have just went by, honk, burp, burp, hey, I'm with safety, make sure you got that seatbelt on, okay, that's dangerous, and keep on going. But no, you have to make this big spectacle of it, involve all these people, all this money, and then tell us we ain't got no money. And then your hour office time, all these things that they're weaponizing against us, they'll falsify anything that's not bolted down to the damn ground. They're the most dishonest human beings on the face of the earth besides our president. And so what do we do to fuck with them? And those things I think about all the time, like when I'm the director of city delivery. How can I fuck with these motherfuckers, right? I want them to hate me like I hate them. That will never happen because I hate them with the greatest passion that you could imagine because of the shit they do to my people. But somebody sent me this the other day, and you've got Barner, who's been pimped out by Lloyd, right? Barner's as useless as Renfroe is. And that's exactly how Renfroe wants it. He doesn't want anybody that challenges anything because he's too busy womanizing and doing shit like that. But what do you do to somebody that weaponizes things against you? They say that we weaponize the cease and desist. That's the only thing we've got to control non-compliance, right? One of the most basic steps is the cease and desist, but they want to get that away from us because we do use it for an escalated monetary reward because we want you to stop. And instead of educating themselves on the contract and teaching them how to quit violating the contract, they just want to take things away from us. Now, any common union person with common sense would tell them to go fuck off on the cease and desist. Now, they have sold us on that. Obviously, it's all the way down to the shop steward level where we won't even get a cease and desist. Our business agents always rarely give cease and desist. In arbitrations, we don't even request cease and desist. It's because you have Lloyd and Barner telling us that we've weaponized it, the cease and desist, right? And so then they continue to weaponize everything against us. And so I don't get that. They weaponize everything against us. And yet they bitch about one thing, the cease and desist. The only thing we have, really, to help with non-compliance is the cease and desist. Because once I can show that that's been met, that's happened enough to where it's now reached egregious levels, I can escalate a remedy on you to for an incentive for future compliance. But somebody sent me this the other day, and it's the grievance payouts. Grievance payouts for certain areas. It talks about Supply, same point last year, data shows a 15% cost avoidance, which means they saved money, 15%, in all overtime-related grievance payouts, all operations, all crafts, all locations. We're showing a cost avoidance of over $2 million. And it goes different, Atlantic, logistics, and all these different things that don't mean anything. But then it says this, some of the top districts with cost avoidances, California 2, Indiana, California, 1 and 5. Says this, notable craft payouts and cost avoidance. NALC, $9.7 million with a cost avoidance of over $1.8 million. And they talk about how good of a job they're doing by avoiding these costs. They've had $9.7 million, and we've avoided a cost of $1.8 million. So that's a reduction from same point last year of $1.8 million, so they're doing better. It says the primary issues, inequitable distribution of overtime, quarterly overtime grievances, $3.9 million paid out. Now that's just in these areas. Employees not on the OTDL, $2.6 million. So they're saying that one of the primary issues that they're having is inequitable distribution of overtime of $3.9 million paid out. Now, as the director of city delivery, how would they feel? We're going to talk about weaponizing things. How would they feel if as the director of city delivery, I sent out an email to every single business agent, to tell every single branch president, to tell every shop steward in the entire country to start filing a quarterly overtime grievance this next quarter. And I want a quarterly overtime grievance filed every quarter until I tell you to stop. Every station in the country file a quarterly overtime grievance. How do you think management would feel about that, hearing about that directive? Do you think that they would say that I was weaponizing that, being as that was their biggest cost in grievance payouts? Do you think that they would say that I was weaponizing that? An email from me saying I want every single station in the country filing a quarterly overtime grievance, and if you don't, I'm going to send in an outside steward to replace you under Article 17, and they're going to do it. Just in case you have those stations that said, hey, my management is too good to me, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put in a shop steward in lieu of you under Article 17, and we're going to file a quarterly overtime in lieu of you, instead of you, in place of you. We're going to do that in every single station in this country. We're going to start filing quarterly overtime grievances until I tell you to stop. Do you think management would think that we're weaponizing that? Then why in the fuck is it okay for them to do shit like they're doing with the 16-7, with the hour office time, with the stationary events, with changing our sick leave to AWOL, the constant amount of fucking with us, telling us that 3 occurrences in a year is discipline, telling us that a safety infraction for the first time is a 14-day suspension. If you have a previous safety infraction, it's a removal. Those are the weaponizing things against us. Why is it okay for them to do that to us? But I guarantee if we did that shit to them, they'd raise hell. At some point, we have to be the consequence of what they do. Nationally, they have got us under attack, and there is no consequence for it. I say we make them pay. I say we have to start being the consequence for their actions. You're going to come out with this 16-7. I'm going to notify whoever it is on my counterpart and say, hey, what's up with this 16-7? This is something that came out with. Here's what y'all are going to see nationally. Quarterly overtime grievances filed out of every single station until you motherfuckers start doing the shit you're doing. That's what you need to do. Until you motherfuckers quit fucking with us, we're going to have a quarterly overtime grievance out of every single station in this country until I say stop. Let's see how much y'all like that. Until there's consequence for your actions, this is what's going to happen. And anything else I can think of to fuck with them, I'm going to do it. Because when I see things come across my desk and they say, hey, Corey, there's this new project coming out. They're doing this. I got you. Let me make this phone call. Boop, 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 boop. Hey, Tom. Yeah, it's Corey. What's going on? Yeah, I'm fixing to fuck y'all shit up, brother, because my people out here trying to work, coming to work under some adverse situations, and you motherfuckers won't quit fucking with them. What they done now? You got this shit going on. Let me check on it. Boop. All right, man, we put an end to that. I appreciate it, man. Or, hey, ain't nothing I can do with it. Fuck, ain't nothing I can do with it either, man. Just get ready for these grievances. We've got to start being fucking consequence. Look, we got chicken shits as president and executive vice president. These motherfuckers are worthless as fuck. They don't know how in the fuck to do shit except fuck shit up. And so, hey, a new day's coming, though. These motherfuckers know it, too. He's lost this shit. A new fucking day is coming. We're going to start being the fucking consequence to these motherfuckers' actions. Right? Fuck these motherfuckers. Anyway, that's it for today. Hey, that wasn't near as long as I thought it would be. Shit, let me see if I can think of something else to talk about. I'm just kidding. So there you have it. That's an hour and 20 minutes. Hell, I thought it'd be 2 hours. But that's not too damn bad. Listen to me when I say this. I love each and every one of you city letter carriers. I love y'all like y'all wouldn't believe. I do. I do. And I cannot wait to get in there and fuck shit up for you. The day of reckoning is coming. It is coming. Man, I promise you that. Hey, James has already told me that he set me loose day one. The day of reckoning is coming. And I can't wait. I've already got people in line. I've already got them ready. I do. I swear I do. They're already ready to go. And as soon as I get names of motherfuckers, they're gone. They're gone. And they will know that we're back. They'll know that the NALC is back, stronger than it's ever been. And I promise you that, okay? We're coming. We're coming. I hadn't said it in a while, but the Lions are fucking coming, man. The Lions are coming, and we're going to do lion-type shit. And I can't wait, man. I cannot wait. I appreciate each and every one of you, man. Y'all keep kicking ass out there. Fantastic job again on the vote. Letting these motherfuckers know there's consequences. You had thieves come into a house full of killers. And these motherfuckers didn't see it coming. They didn't see it coming to the tune of about 70% up that ass. Right? The NALC is coming back stronger than ever. The consequence of it all. That's who we are. The fucking consequence, right? I love each and every one of you. I really do, man. I cannot wait to be the director of city delivery. And I'm going to hit this fucking country, man. I'm going to be everywhere. And I can't wait to meet you and see you and hug your neck. And we're going to fuck shit up together. All right? I'll talk to y'all Wednesday with Mr. Tyler Vassar, okay?